morning, dreamers! That is what I call an entrance, by the way, and welcome to day 3 of the Puffin Festival of Big Dreams. Let me tell you, we are going to have so much fun today because today's theme is all about inventing things and bringing dreams to life. Does it get any better than that? I don't think so. So with that in mind, I'm going to get myself warmed up, stretched and ready because it's time for us to dream. We're going to dream. We're going to put our chins in our hands, our heads to the skies, and we're going to click after 3. 1, 2, 3. In 1969, The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle was born. Now, for me, it tells the story of how wonderfully something can be turned into a picture of beauty. Now, it was actually created just using a hole punch. So with that in mind, think how creative and inventive you can be with things that are lying around the house. Now, a few fun facts about it. The book was originally going to be called A Week with Willy the Worm. I know. Next up, we have the incredibly inventive Jamie Littler, who's going to show us how to build an adventure in his fantastical workshop. All you need is paper, a pen, imagination. Don't forget to have fun, but definitely don't forget to send us your dreams using the hashtag Puffin Dreamer for your chance for the illustrator Nick Sharrett to draw yours.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Puffin Festival of Big Dreams. My name's Jamie Littler, and I am the author and illustrator of the Frostheart series. Frostheart is a fantasy adventure set in a frozen world full of magic, monsters, ancient civilizations, and explorers who ride massive engine-powered snow sleighs across the ice. In this world, massive, dangerous monsters called leviathans lurk underneath the snows, waiting for anyone brave or foolish enough to set foot upon them, so they can jump out of the snow and gobble them up. So people in this world are forced to live in stronghold villages that are high up on cliffs or have massive walls to protect them from these leviathan monsters. The story is about a boy called Ash, this guy here, and he lives in a very northern, distant stronghold called the Fira. He's there waiting for his parents who have been missing since he was a baby. I'm going to read you a bit of the book right now from chapter 1. Ash and his friends have been playing an innocent game of spark ball in their stronghold, and Ash has accidentally kicked the ball over the battlement walls. I mean, we've all had this problem before, right? You kicked your football over into your neighbour's garden. Just imagine though that your neighbour was not a person but a massive, dangerous monster. I mean, maybe they are, I don't know, but they leave the safety of their walls and they try and get their ball back that has landed on the dangerous snows. And this is what happens. Snow erupted into the air like water from a geyser. The children staggered back as freezing slush rained down on them. Out of the snow chasm rose 3 large shapes. Lurkers, Ash gasped, his voice strained with fear. The creatures were wet, sleek and serpentine, longer than 2 men, with 6 frost-white eyes that blinked slightly out of order, and gaping jaws filled with ice-sharp fangs and drool-slick tongues. Despite their graceless, scrambling gait, they moved with terrible speed, so quick in fact, it was hard to make sense of their spiny crests, scrabbling claws and whip-long tails. They just looked like a writhing mass of horror to Ash. "They've cut him off!" Shine screamed. And she was right. The lurkers had blocked Rise's path back to the village and were already racing hungrily towards him. Rise was frozen to the spot in fear. "We need to tell the grown-ups," Ash yelled, but he needn't have bothered. The lookout on the watchtower above had already seen the commotion. "Lurkers!" he bellowed. "Hunters, to the battlements!" Meanwhile, the lurkers were nearly upon Rise, who simply stood there, whimpering in terror. "Rise, run!" Ash yelled at the top of his voice. This seemed to snap Rise out of his trance. He dropped the ball and began to sprint, trying his hardest to skirt around the approaching lurkers. Suddenly, a hungry, violent noise grew, echoing across the plain, terrifying in its fury. It was the song of the lurkers. Harsh, ragged howls and screeches pierced Ash's ears, and his belly gave a sickening lurch as he felt the hateful emotions of the Leviathans. This was a war song. Human, catch, kill. So there you go. What will happen to our heroes? Thanks so much for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. What I thought we'll do now is, not only am I an author, I'm also an illustrator. So I thought it would be cool if we did a little draw along and I show you how I draw the characters and places in my world. I thought a really good character to draw would be Master Pod. I love Master Pod. He's this small Vulpes, which is a mixture of a squirrel and a fox. He's always calm and collected, ready for anything. He's the right-hand man of the captain of the Frostheart, which is the sleigh the story is set on. So let's go and draw him. Okay, so we have our paper here, we have our pencil, we have our eraser, not that we're going to need that, of course, and we have our pens. So let's draw Master Pod. So one thing I like to always, a tip I always like to give is that no matter what you're drawing, no matter how simple or complicated the thing you're drawing might be, if you split it into simple shapes, turn each part of it into a simple shape, it makes the drawing a lot easier. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that right now whilst we draw Master Pod. So Master Pod has basically a rugby ball shaped head. So we're going to draw that like this. Please feel free to draw along. So it's a big old like rugby ball head like that. And he's got, and don't worry if you make mistakes, don't worry if it's messy. All my drawings are super messy, you should see them. We'll tidy that up later with some ink. So this is all with pencil. So I'm going to draw his ears now, which are like two big triangles on top of his head. His body is like a light bulb or a pear or something like that, okay? Or a teardrop, you see. So it's another simple shape that we're constructing there. And then his arms are basically little sausages that stick outside where his shoulders would be. So you've got a little bit of neck, and then we're going to have these things stick out. These sausages stick out like that. We're going to add details later, so just keep this super simple for now. That's how I do all my drawings, super simple at first, and then we add details as we go. So we're going to draw his legs standing together, so we're just going to draw some lines like this. 3 lines coming from the bottom of his body like that. And then his paws are basically 2 rectangles, slightly rounded at the bottom of the leg tubes. You see? So they're almost 2 rectangles like that. So you see, oh, he's got a tail, of course. Can't forget his tail. So his tail is almost like a candle flame or something. Because it twitches and it's a big furry tail, it doesn't really matter how you draw that. It changes shape all the time. So we're just going to do it like this for today. So you can see, like, we've just used some really simple shapes there, and we're already starting to get Master Pod is starting to take shape. So now we're going to add some details. So Master Pod has a big nose, big cute nose, which is almost like a slightly rounded upside down triangle that goes in the middle of the rugby ball like that. Then he's got 2 oval eyes either side of the nose like that. Master Pod is usually not very impressed with the situation. He's always very calm and collected. So we're going to give him quite a stern expression. So to do that, I'm going to draw 1 line like that for 1 eyebrow, and then a slightly raised eyebrow like that, as though he's not sure about the situation. He's not convinced. And we'll give him a line for a mouth like that as well, just to add to that effect. I mean, you can change the expression as you see fit. You could make him happy if you want, in which case you would draw the eyebrows high up like that. He could be angry, in in which case the eyebrows come down, everything comes into the middle like that, you see. But we're going to keep him like this for now. So I'm going to move to pen now. Feel free to do the same, or just like maybe push a bit harder with your pencil or something. We're going to start adding the details. So Masterpod's eyes are black, but we don't want him to look like a scary shark or something. So to stop that from happening, I tend to add a little shine, little bit of reflected light in the corner of his eye. Just gives him a bit of life, a bit of approachability, makes him look a bit friendlier. Just mark these eyebrows like that and fill in the nose. Like this. Right, now we'll start adding some detail. So Masterpod he's like a mixture of a fox and a squirrel, so he's very furry. So we're gonna try and give the impression of that fur. So with his ears, we're gonna slightly round them off like that. But you can add some little spikes which show where the hair would be, where the fur would be. So we're going to do a line that follows the outer line like that. Do the same on this side. So you see, you're just following the triangle shape, but giving it a slightly rounded shape there. Follow the inside. And then we're going to draw some little tufts of hair inside the ear like that. And we're going to give him the same with his whiskers. He's going to have these kind of spikes that kind of show hair. All my style is quite cartoony, so it's all about just giving the impression of something. It doesn't have to be super detailed like that. That to me looks like, you know, very fur. He's got a scarf which he wears, which is basically another upside down triangle, a bit like the nose. So we'll go from here where the shoulders would be, and we'll draw a triangle like that. And then another one below, slightly bigger, which follows the shape, but below it, like that. And then you just join the two together with a kind of M, you see, like that, which shows where the fold would be in the material. And you can even draw a line like that just to show that fold a bit. You might have a bit more hair there where it's sticking over the scarf a bit. Now we're going to draw his fingers, which are basically the same as the arms. They'll end up being little like sausages that just stick out like that. Draw one behind there, and a bit more fur where his elbows would be. Another sausage, and another sausage. It's making me a bit hungry. Cool, and then you just start adding as much or as little detail as you want. So Masterpod he wears a belt which he attaches loads of pouches to. So we'll just do a line through the middle of that bulb, a slightly rounded line where his waist would be, like that. And then you can add some pouches. I just do them as kind of slightly squiggly rectangles or blobs, you know. So I've got a pouch there, would actually be a bit like that. The flaps there where you can close the pouch. You can add as many like items there. Maybe he's got some other tools that he uses. He's got a kind of pocket piece here, a bit like a dungaree pocket, which we'll add. Do some stitching, just simple lines just to show that there might be stitching there. You can fill in this belt with black, like that. And then his trousers. The trousers often have lots of creases and folds in them, but because he's so small and we're trying to keep this simple, I just do little squiggly lines just to show where some of those clothing creases might be. I just follow these shapes, you see, I'm just following the shapes that we did earlier, just adding little bits of detail, so some squiggly lines to show where there might be some folds in the trousers. We'll draw a line there to show where his legs begin. And then in his paws, just to show where his toes are, just draw 2 lines in each of the rectangles, like that. Simple as that, and it just shows where those toes might be on his paws. Because we're looking straight at them, that's quite a good easy way of doing that. So there you go, there's his paws. And his tail, we'll just do the same. Just add those furry spikes just to show that it would be furry there. There you go, a little bit of shadow. And that is a very simple way of drawing Master Pod. You see, like, we've added some detail. You can keep adding detail, you can leave it there. We made that out of really simple shapes. So you see, it really is quite easy, and that can be applied to anything, no matter how complicated the thing you're drawing is. Just look at what kind of shapes make it up. Are they circles, tubes, squares, rectangles? And then add a few details to finish him off. I hope this was useful and that you enjoyed drawing Master Pod. So now that we've done a bit of drawing, I'm going to set you another exciting challenge. This challenge is to create your own adventure story. And I'm going to make that slightly easier for you with these 4 super secret, highly classified tips. Don't tell anyone. Tip number 1. Create a world. That's right, create an entire world. No, it's a bit easier than that. We're just thinking about where our story is set. Is your story going to be set in some fantastical, frozen landscape like in Frostheart? Or maybe it's going to be set in some ancient temples in a sweltering jungle or on an alien planet? Or maybe it's just going to be somewhere really normal, maybe in your house or in your school classroom. There's something really cool about when unusual, adventurous things happen in very normal settings. Tip number 2. We need a hero. Every story needs a hero. You need someone that you like. You need someone that we can root for and want to win the day. A good way to do that is to give your hero strengths and weaknesses. It would be boring if they were just good at everything. So I want you to think of 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses for your character. You could even draw them maybe and write the strengths and weaknesses next to them. So perhaps their strengths will help them on their adventure. Maybe they're super fast or have superpowers. Ash can sing and calm massive monsters. With weaknesses, we need something that the character, our hero, is going to overcome in the adventure. Something that is gonna make their adventure difficult. Maybe something that the villain will exploit and use against them. Maybe they are a bit overconfident. Maybe they are not very good at physical activities like Ash. He's not very good at shooting a bow and arrow, for instance. So think about what your character's 2 weaknesses would be as well as their strengths. Tip number 3. Every adventure needs a good villain, someone to get in the way of our character's goals, someone that you love to hate. And we're going to do a very similar thing here that we did with the hero. We're going to create an interesting villain, so a villain that has strengths and weaknesses as well. So again, if you want to draw your villain or just write about your villain, maybe write 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. Perhaps they are the opposite of our hero. So maybe what our hero's strengths were are our villain's weaknesses, and vice versa. The villain is really good at doing what our hero isn't. Or maybe they're really similar to each other, and that's what makes them such good rivals. Either way, it's really good to have an interesting villain as well as an interesting hero. And finally, tip number 4. We need a quest. What's an adventure without a quest? That could be as simple as trying to find the magical item that will defeat the Dark Lord and save the world. Perhaps it's trying to find your hero's missing parents, like Ash is trying to do in Frostheart. Maybe it's that the villain has stolen something and the hero has to chase the villain and get it back. Either way, try and think what the quest your hero is going on. That is the main part of the story. That is what is going to have all the action and all the adventure. So there you go, you have everything you need to write an adventure story. So take your hero, your villain, send them off on their quest and have fun writing an adventure story with those guys as inspiration. So thanks so much for listening, everyone. Take care and see you soon. Bye!